Take a look at Super Bowl odds. Super Bowl rematch tied at number 1. Then it's the Ravens, then the Lions, Cincy, and Philadelphia. Brewer, the Ravens over, under, or perfectly rated here?
Perfectly. The Chiefs, obviously Super Bowl champs, and look better on paper. There's no question about that. The Niners are in the other conference, so they have presumably an easier road. And I think the Ravens are the second best team in the AFC. They have the Bengals number. We've talked about different teams having, somebody's number. Lamar is 4-1 against Joe Burrow. They've won 8 of their last 9 against Cincinnati. And I talked about that last year, and that's why I like the Ravens better than the Bengals. So I like what the Ravens have done this offseason. I know they lost some defensive players, including the coordinator, but their culture, their identity is great defense. So I think they're going to be fine there. Yep. And then with Derrick Henry, they're going to clearly – I'm not shying away from Derrick Henry. They're going to have the best running game by far in the NFL with Lamar and Derrick Henry, and I think – that he's going to have a better command even of the offense this year than he did last year, having been in it another season. So I think Lamar's going to have another good year, and I think they're going to have a great year with the run game.
Okay. So, I think they're way overrated. I think just in the AFC, I think obviously take Kansas City out of it, they are ahead of them. I think Cincinnati and Houston have a better chance of making the Super Bowl. As far as easier path, depending the division, I think that you could make the case for Buffalo, and I obviously, I think you could, absolutely. And while I don't think I think Josh Allen's playoff numbers are inflated by getting to play the JV Pats in that one game, and then a game he lost.
Unbelievable that he just said that Josh Allen's numbers are inflated because of playing, the Patriots, whatever. But then he uses Dak Prescott's numbers and doesn't say that those numbers were inflated when he played the Packers and it was garbage, points, or when he played Tampa Bay when they were a disaster and a couple seasons ago. So unbelievable, that inconsistency. I don't believe that. I mean, I do believe it, but wow.
Nobody can say he plays his worst football in the postseason. And so I think that the Ravens, for me, would be like 5th or 6th in the AFC. Wow. This is to win the Super Bowl. This isn't to have the best regular season. It is all that this is do we think this team can win 3 or 4 consecutive playoff games? And because of everything we said in the last 10 minutes, I have a really hard time buying that they can.
That's fair.
Thanks for watching.
All right. So I think that's way too harsh. Let's look at these stats here. Okay. Or these odds. First off, the odds changed. I don't know where these odds are coming from, because before it was the 49ers were favored and the Chiefs were under that. Now they're tied. I don't know how much has changed, because it's not like it was like the draft or free agency, because those odds were already updated and released. So I don't understand with regards to that. But listen, I think the Ravens, this idea that the Chiefs are just going to be able to kind of run away with it in the AFC, because that's what the implication is, okay? Is that the Chiefs, at least coming from Nick Wright's perspective, that the Chiefs, no one can hold water to them. Nick Wright thinks the Bills are trash, except for when he's trying to pull down the Ravens, I suppose. He clearly thinks that the Ravens is overrated. He doesn't think the Bengals. He thinks Joe Burrow is not going to be able to make a full recovery. He now opened the door a little bit for the Houston Texans, but outside of that, he doesn't think that anyone can compete with the Chiefs. And I just wholeheartedly disagree with that. I think actually if the Ravens and the Chiefs had a rematch last season in the playoffs, obviously not possible, but let's say they did, I would pick the Ravens to win that game. And I think this year, if the Ravens are fully healthy and both teams are fully healthy and they get to have a rematch and everyone's full strength, I will pick the Ravens. I think Lamar Jackson is going to have a great playoff run. The slander against Lamar is not being good. I just wholeheartedly disagree with that, as I mentioned in the previous video. And I just think that come time playoffs, the Ravens have to have learned their lesson at this point to have a better more efficient game plan. The Ravens are a highly functional organization and franchise. They are an historic blue chip franchise. I just can't imagine them. And if they fail, then I would fire Harbaugh. I really would. I would clean house. It would be like, this is ridiculous at this point. Because you need some imagination. You need some innovative play calling. You need to have better game plans. Which is, again, I went on that whole rant in the last video, so I'll save it for this one. You know, I won't go say it all again. But if they don't learn and grow from what happened at the end of last season, well, then Harbaugh does need to go, because that would be an absolute disgrace from my viewpoint. Lamar Jackson is that special. He is that great. And I just think that in no way do the Kansas City Chiefs have an easy path forward. I think they're going to struggle against the Bengals. I think they're going to struggle against the Ravens. I think they're going to struggle against the Texans. I think they're going to struggle against the Bills. It's just not an easy path forward in that regard. And so I just wholeheartedly disagree with what Nick is implying there, because again, he's just trying to say that all these other teams are really not that good, and therefore the Chiefs are just going to be able to kind of pick up the pieces, you know, eat up the pieces that's left over of the Ravens versus the Bengals or whatever it may be. And I just do not foresee that happening. I think the Ravens will, surprisingly, their numbers and their stats may not take a step forward, but them as a franchise and as a team will step forward. And I think they will be better and more prepared come time playoffs. So they might not be as flashy and might not run up the score as much as they did, right? They might not have another game where they play the 49ers and completely undress them on, what was that, Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football, whatever it was. They may not have as many games like that, but they are going to be more prepared, more gritty. They have their eye on the prize of the playoffs, not the regular season. I think the Ravens are going to be incredibly focused, and I think that's going to pay dividends come time playoffs. I really, really do. And then I think it's going to depend on when and where these teams face each other. Do the Ravens and the Chiefs face each other in the AFC Championship game? Is it the wild card round, right? Like, we have no idea how the season will unfold, of course. And will the Ravens have a bye while the Chiefs don't have a bye? Then they play them the next round, right? Like, it's just, to me, some of that will play a factor. What's the weather like? Is it raining? Is it freezing? Is it snowing? Obviously, those are all things that we cannot predict whatsoever. But I think if the Chiefs versus the Ravens again come time playoffs, this is obviously looking at this completely blindly, as we have no idea what those teams will look like. I just have to imagine that Lamar Jackson and the Ravens are going to take that step forward. And I really would be shocked if they don't. I really, really would be, you know, I'd be borderline stunned. And it would make me look back at Harbaugh as a coach for his entire career and be like, were you ever really that good of a coach? Were you able to kind of just ride out the waves of some really good teams? And then you got Lamar Jackson, who's clearly a special player, which then kind of kept you kind of relevant maybe a little bit longer than you should have been. I think, again, if the Ravens failed to succeed, it's not on Lamar. It would all be on Harbaugh from my viewpoint. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys think? Do you think the Ravens are over, under, or perfectly rated for their Super Bowl odds? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.